Okay, now, of course, I muted myself earlier because I didn't. Oh, so, okay, now I'm really there. Damn it. Yes, all the chat lost hearing. It's all your fault, of course. No voice. Yeah, 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 yeah. But you did hear the music, yeah. Right. Okay, now I'm there. Yeah, I muted myself, of course, because during like the countdown, I didn't want to be heard. I didn't want you to hear all my groans, so I guess you didn't get to hear all my groans the whole time. All right. Okay. Now, what I was saying is, I hope you're enjoying the event so far. I'm certainly having fun with it, and that's the only thing you really need to paid sub material. Right. Okay. Our first restream now claims that I'm offline, but since you are chatting with me, it seems that is incorrect. Okay. Alrighty. So, I think you can see the board all right. Yep, 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 yep. Everything is fine. We'll just cut this out in post. So, so the way I want to do this lecture is basically I have a specific Joseki in mind, of course, that I want to go over, and I want to go over the variations, but I don't want to be this is what you play then, and that's what you not play then. But rather, I'm going to ask you a few times what might be possible options, and you're cordially invited to ask questions at any point, so that if there's any move that interests you, we can go over it too. But along the way, I noticed during the preparation of this lecture that there's quite a few interesting shapes and principles about like staying light and which stones to which stones to shave, I suppose, which stones to save and which stones to shave. um, I'm going to use that in the future. Um, and so and so we're going to get through them, and in the end I also have five game examples where some of these variations were actually used. So yeah. All right, so first of all, I mean, I'm pretty sure, show of hands, who is familiar with this top right enclosure? Who has seen it or even played it in their games? I think that should be a large percentage of you all, unless you just started like two 2 hours ago. Looks like mouse slip. Must be, right? Who would ever play this? Okay. Right. So that would be you started 2 hours ago. Okay, so welcome to GoNet. You started 2 hours ago today, maybe. But yeah, so if you either play this or you have played against it, what are moves that you have seen before against this enclosure? Or that you have played yourself against this enclosure? It's actually Prince Leader doesn't count. We have this one. Yeah, Q16 is a typical move, right? Because you're too strong. P15. Yeah, P15 is a classic. Well, classic maybe not, but well, at least since AI, it's a classic way to approach this corner. Any other? Any other ways? P16 might be possible. Yeah, yeah, certainly. S16. Yeah, S16 is also an option. Probing, yeah. Any moves that are not that close to the corner, that are not immediately attaching, basically. B is, I guess, already an example of being more from the outside. What about P17? Yeah, P17, okay. And other than that, maybe I'm old now, but like earlier before that, also F would have been a way to approach, like approach from the outside. So, but the most modern or the most common currently is certainly the AI variation to just attach here, right? You attach here. So in theory, I like this attachment, right? You force the opponent to react very locally, and you like attaching in general gives you this gives the opponent this urgency to have to react to it. However, personally at least, I am really not a fan of these variations. These give me a headache. I don't want to learn them. And also, if I play them and my opponent plays them, it's much more likely that my opponent knows them better than me. And if I know them just as well as my opponent, I don't know. I don't think I gain anything from that. So I might then gain an advantage because I know when to choose this Joseki, and maybe if I learn it a lot, then maybe I can get an advantage. But I really don't feel like doing that. So then the alternative options that I chose so far were just B. B is more outside. It's pretty forcing because if black doesn't react, then white can, for example, attach here, or in some cases also white can just go inside and then take the corner. But typically black reacts either here or here. And then you can just treat it as an outside for inside exchange, maybe some ladder makers and stuff like this. So it defines the corner shape. So maybe you'll play something like this pressing later. For example, if black has a Morio, or you play something light like this and threaten to press here. And if black plays this, then you can still play here and easily make some shape on the side like this. Right? So like that's one way, or maybe Blake would play this. So that's one way to do this. C is also an interesting option. We will actually get back to that, but C is if you really just want to take the outside in a very kind of forceful way like this. But it's also like Black gets a very solid corner like this, and you have three stones which are well, they are just on the outside, so it's fine. It's completely fine. Alternatively, you can play F, and then if black, for example, just defends, then you just make a base. That's fine. Or if black counters, then you can attach here, and likely for example, like let's mock up this variation. You can, for example, like this, just or maybe you connect this better. You can just live in the corner like this, and you can just take away the corner. That's also fine. There might be something more complicated with this where there's a cut, but that's also an option. So D is an option you could do. It's relatively easy for black to defend just on the outside or on the inside, so I won't cover this, but S16 is also another option. E typically you don't do. It's a little bit too easy for black to cover white inside like this. So because you want to cross cut here, but it's then you have a bad exchange. This is not a good shape. So if you do this though and then play here, black gets kind of too solid outside shape. Q16 in some variations does require a ladder, yeah. So it doesn't Q16 playing Q16 itself, I don't think requires a ladder, but you need to know which variations you can enter and which not. So the move I'm going to show you doesn't necessarily require any ladders, or often the ladder variations are not superior to the ones which are not needing a ladder. So it was mentioned in chat because someone had to spoil it, of course. But the move I want to suggest, or what to say, I don't say I want to suggest, I actually saw AI play. That's why the title is AI Trick Joseki. And it was AI versus AI, so it was not even a Trick Joseki. We will get to it in the examples. Um, you saw a strong EGF player play it. Yes, yes, I did. So, so what is this? What is 018? That looks absolutely ridiculous, no? It's, I mean, S16 is also the second line move, but maybe that's closer to the corner, right? S16 is a second line attachment, but it's closer to the corner. So 018, what is this? What is the point? Yes, like this on an empty board. It was in an AI versus AI game, it was move 8. So it was cross Fuseki though, so it's even more powerful in cross Fuseki, but it loses like half a point in non-cross Fuseki. It's still really fine. It's like it's not even a mistake, like not even significant. So yeah, what is the meaning of this move? We will discover that along this lecture. But my first question is, well, you are now black. Someone plays this against you in a game. How do you react? What are your options as black? Besides running to the bathroom and crying, of course. What are options that you consider now? You resign, you Tenuki. Are those both of those count towards the you're right running into the bathroom? So we're looking for different options. Um, P17 and be oops, the P17 and be happy. Okay. On AI and say what is this? I give you that. That's not quite the same as running to the bathroom, but maybe some would do that. Okay, P17 would be happy. That's one option, maybe. Who knows? Who's to say? No other suggestions? Nobody dares anything else. We got three times P17. P18, okay, yes. N17. All right, and I fill the quartet. The outside honey is also an option. In fact, the outside honey is one of the best options. That being said, all of these options are pretty equal. So if you say I want to pick P17 and P16 should also be good. Um, I don't really see a reason for it. Probably it's not horrible, but I don't know about that. I don't know why you would do that besides any other move. P16 out of spy idea. Um, P16, I see, is actually not good. So P16, white can play here. And I guess then then you say Q17. I doubt that one. Yeah, so you just leave weaker shape. So, but actually, let's go back to this position. So, generally speaking, very generally speaking, the principle of attachments is if you can, you typically want to Hane because that's typically the most forceful or the most well, liberty depriving way of playing against, right? If you play one of the Hane, all of a sudden the opponent's Stone Henry has two liberties. Against the second line Stone, maybe it's a little bit special because if you extend, you can also stay strong yourself. But Hane is, let's say, the move that you typically want to check first. And if it's not good or doesn't work or leads to variations that you don't like, then extend is the second best thing. But sometimes extend is also the best thing, so it depends. But so in this case, the harness are both slightly better than the extends. Both extends are a little bit soft, let's say. So let's pick this harness first. So when black harness, now what would you want to play as white in this case? What are, and that goes back to principles as well, I suppose. P17. Why P17? Windmill? Crosscut, of course. Okay, so you all do strong. Why not extend here? What's speaking against the extend here? Too low? Yeah, black extend is too sane. Black will just connect, and you have a second line stone which is pretty heavy, and black's corner is completely solid. It's slightly different to this attachment. To this attachment here, because here you are on the third line. So here you can extend. Here it's fine because also white still has a weakness here, and if white just defends, then this stone is pretty inefficient. So, but generally speaking, you don't like this extension. Counter Hane, I think in this case has the same problem that black might either extend or connect and just has too solid shape. You didn't make enough use of this, I would say, is the problem. So instead, double cross cut. Almost always, one of the principles of like staying light and attachments and sabaki in general, I suppose, is that you want to make use of your stones that are on the board, but you don't want to be married to any of them. You are willing to sacrifice any of your stones unless they keep the opponent weak. So here, if now black Dataris is stone, you sacrifice the stone. And clamp, no, then black also connects, and that's too solid. Now you don't have anything. You didn't gain anything from this. You just made black strong. So yeah. So if black now, for example, just captures this stone, now you can Atari here, and then black has two options. But let's see. First of all, black has several options now again. After a crosscut, you have several options. You can Atari one of the stones, or you can extend. In this case, for example, extending here is a bit too passive. Now the move for white would be, well, what would you play next as white, actually? In 17, okay. OQ 17. So the answer to this question is Tenuki. You don't want to continue here. You already achieved something, and the something is that you got a second and a third line stone for black's two second line stones, and it's not really clear how you can continue locally. This is just annoying RG for the opponent. So another principle, another core principle is if you already made good exchanges there, then you can Tenuki. And the point of attaching, especially, or these of Joseki in general, but especially attaching variations, is you want to define the shape. You want right now at the start here, this enclosure is in a very large state of flux. There is a lot of variations that could happen, and there's a lot of decisions that the opponent could make with it. But at this point here, after this, now you already defined. Now black got the corner. The corner is very solid. Well, why would white do it now? Because later, now you know how black responded, and now you can make use of this RG later down the line. If you play it later, then maybe black responds later. But why would you do it now? It's the same question. Why? You could ask the same question about this attachment. Why would you play it now? Why not later? It's the same with all of these. Why would you, for example, why would you want to play a probe like this early? Why not later in the game? It's because you want to know what you're working with. It wouldn't be a real trick if we knew who was tricked, right? Exactly. So, so you are now basically making white worry later, black worry later. It's a probe. Yeah, it's essentially it's a probe, but it's a probe that can also lead to just variations that end into in a. But we'll get to a lot of different variations that come to is another state of flux, so that you can make use of them later. So here, if black just extends, you're already happy. You got your, right, if we mark this, uh, you basically got black to play 2 second line moves, and you, for this, got a third and a second line stone. So locally, it's already a slight success, because generally speaking, especially early in the game, getting outside for inside, and especially third or fourth line for second line stones, is a success, because you have more. Well, the archie is probably more useful, and then you can also make use of it later. For example, for core threads, for ladder breakers, for fights, for double Ataris. All of this could happen, right? And I see. Okay, yeah. So this is a little bit too passive, right? Like, so if you crosscut here, you want to play p16. Yes. So exactly that is actually the best variation for black. Black's best variation is to Atari here. You extend now, because if you now Tenuki, black captures and gets the Ponuki, and your 018 stone is what just this is 018 is wasted. Now there's no RG here, and black got a solid corner with a lot of solid outside influence. That this is too good for black. So you do extend once. And after the extend, obviously black doesn't Tenuki, because if black now Tenukis, then you just capture here, or you extend here, and you fall apart. So black now plays here. And what do you think the next white move could be? Tenuki, Toniko, x16. I see a couple of you got, but what if you would want to play something different in that corner later? What if the opponent would like to play something different in the corner? Go is a lot of asking the opponent what they want to do. If you don't like the Joseki, or if you don't like the attachment, you don't need to play it. But the corner is going to be defined eventually. And it's your choice now to make the opponent choose. And maybe they don't like later what they chose now. So, and that's the, I mean, that's the point of any probe, really. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a probe, because why should you probe something if you all the time, if you think, actually, let me put it this way. Why would you play 4-4 as your first move? Why? Maybe later you would like to play something else. Well, okay, the opponent might then get all 4 corners, but at least you didn't make a bad decision to take the wrong move in the corner, right? So, um, so yeah, the correct answer is indeed Tenuki. Once again, there's not really a good way to continue locally, but any fights around this could really, really turn out that this RG on the outside, right? Again, once again, this one is a bit better than the other one, because here black played to second and a fourth line move, and you played to third and the second line move. So it evens out. Um, don't worry, these variations, like understanding this core concept of just defining the shape, is probably the most high level and the most complex of those. So, but yeah, that is the main variation in this shape, basically. Black plays Atari, you extend what black plays here, and now you Tenuki. And the extension, like I said, is a little bit too passive. So what else is left? Black could Atari from this side now. Once again, you don't want to lose this stone, because getting the Ponuki outside is too much. And also, there's still weaknesses, right? If you now Tenuki, black captures, black has 0 weaknesses. if you extend, black has to respond. If now black doesn't respond, well, this is a disaster. This is probably like white plus 15, because now even after this, white has a Ponoki. 017 is completely wasted. The corner is not fully, well, it's probably alive, but it's sad. So black has to respond to this. And typically you capture the stone on the second line now. And after this Atari, there's a couple of options, but typically white now just plays the Atari and black captures. And then once again, you just Tenuki. You have A and B as possible follow-ups, but the point of this is now you gave black the corner now solidly, but you get outside stones. It's kind of comparable to playing the 3-3 now, right? You play 3-3. Well, and in the end, we have a situation where black got the outside and white took the inside. Only that here it looks really bad for white. Then remember that black spent 2 more moves to get this result. So essentially, black had to, well, the result should look bad for white, locally speaking. But you also have to remember that white got these 2 stones basically extra. Compare, like if these 2 stones weren't on the board but somewhere, then it would of course look bad. No, so you take outside, just like here, for example, you took the inside and gave black the outside. This one, though, however, is comparable to this one, right? Here, you also gave black the corner and took some outside. The difference is that here, you took outside more towards this side and less towards the left side and less towards the center. In this variation here, in this particular variation, you just took the outside more towards the center and more towards the left side. Like I said, later you can play here and press black down here a little bit and get influence in this direction, or you might attach here and get some more influence towards the right direction. So these are all variations that end in you defined the shape. No, because these 3 stones are light. They don't matter. They are just like these, just like these, just like these. You don't care if black captures them on the small scale, because black is strong. So that's one of the core principles as well. Any stone you try to save has to have a purpose or has to be very big. If it's not big, then it has to be a purpose. Stones like this, like these, which are attached to a strong black group, right? The corner is very strong. Okay. And similar to that, this one, oops, similar to this, these 3, black is super strong. Black is super strong. So these 3 stones, I think Hana always used that, they are garbage stones. They don't matter, but they can be helpful for you because they give you outside influence, which might be helpful for ladder breakers or for influence later, or for some fights, right? So these are just left there to be useful. And so just like when black extends, you just say none of these 2 stones matter to you because black's group in the corner is solid and alive. You can basically never attack this corner group anymore. However, you might be able to attach here later and force black to decide, how do I deal with this now? Like, do I Hane here, then allow this one, then all of a sudden there might be a problem. Can I fight back? But then there's maybe all of a sudden RG here, and you have to worry about all this, right? So you have to be careful with this as black, and you as white basically have a freebie. These 2 stones you don't need to save, but if you can save them or if you can make use of them towards for fights later, then that's great. It's always more of a headache for black than for white, I would say, in this case. But speaking of headache, Now, these were, let's say, the variations. All of those variations ended in white just gets some outside and then we Tenuki. So what about the last option for black here? The last reasonable option, I would say, because Atari here was one, Atari here was one, extending here was maybe one. Extending here is not an option, right? Because then white just captures here and lives easily in the corner. Light play is, yeah, sabaki, basically, right? That's why the title is AI Joseki and 5 Core Principles of Sabaki, because light play is, or let's say, for sabaki, often you need to play light. Otherwise, I would have just called it Joseki lecture. That's why I also like this attachment so much, because it's so rich in lessons, basically. If it was just about teaching you one certain move, I don't know how useful it is for a lecture. It may be interesting and fun, but I think this way it's actually also useful. Um, Speaking of fun, though, again, if black now plays here, now the fun begins. Now white Atari is here, and black has two options. Black can either capture or connect. Let's look at capture first. Now after black captures here, where does white play? Maybe not the most complicated answer question. Tenuki? Also possible, yes. But let's say you have to continue. Yes, Atari. Q17. Q17, no, because in that case, black just plays here and black has pretty solid shape here. And this stone is kind of a nuisance to this shape. Now, if you extend, black can just peep here. If you don't extend, then black can Atari here. So also black can still connect under more or less. Not quite, but yeah, more or less. So yeah, you Atari here. Now what? The next question: how do you react as black? Oh, more difficult question. Oh, 18 is one vote. Okay. Oh, 18, oh, 18. Q17. No, Q17 was for later. Okay, Q17 usually. It's tough playing Ko so early. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a good point. I will come back to that. M17. Tenuki is fun. Maybe. But yeah. So let's start with this one. You do not connect this Ko. You never connect this. This is like the second line extension. You just are way too slow, way too low. The problem with this connection here is that white now doesn't white now doesn't care about these three stones. If we go back now to if we go back to looking at what happened, let's say the first black captured the stone, right? So black captured the stone, so let's say the first line stone is not there. Then, if we now look at the enclosure, we still get these as the moves that were added on the board. So we are being generous and not counting the first line stone. So white got a third line, a fourth line, and a third line stone, and black played three second line stones. Now, I'm not saying there's not Joseki where that's not good for one, like there's the scrolling on the second line, which is still good, but white just got easy shape on the outside and now doesn't care for any of these three stones again. This is not good for black. This is, I think, like -2 points. So it's not horrible, but it's not really not good. So the problem is that you're just being too passive here. generally speaking, with these kind of variations, with these kind of things, you want to Atari, you want to counter Atari, because, and now I will come back to what W1 said. It's tough playing Ko so early. That's true, but here's the thing: White has to start the Ko. So after Black plays here, White of course captures, and then Black doesn't do anything here. Black plays this one. The order doesn't matter, by the way. Black can play here as long as Black doesn't Tenuki. If Black plays here and then White captures, Black plays here, it always comes back to this. Yeah. So now, um, what does White do? What's now White's next move? Tenuki? That's now White doesn't connect. Invite 3-3 and hope they double Hane. Yeah. You bet not 017. Yeah. Chat, you're learning quickly. Indeed. White doesn't connect because now, I mean, what is this? Okay, you got outside for inside stone, but Black just defends the shape here. And what are these stones doing? They are absolute garbage, and Black got side territory, corner, everything. Maybe you get a little bit of RG2 with this Atari in the corner, but this is really not good. So what instead now you do, and now this is what I come back to the start of the lection. Now you defined the shape. Now you Tenuki. You defined the shape, but this time you didn't define the shape in a, oh, maybe later I make use of it. Could still happen. But this is the kind of shape where now you can actually say, this is a dangerous Ko. But if I start it now, if I start this now, Black captures, what is White's Ko threat? No Ko threat is good enough, because if now, even if you attach to this, Black doesn't react and captures. And now look at this Q18 stone. Look at this Q18 stone being completely useless. You don't want to start this kind of Ko. However, who says you need to start the Ko right away? So instead you can attach here. Or attach one of this. I think this is actually the top AI move. Because now the problem for Black is Black cannot resist too hard. Because if Black now, even if Black, for example, let's say Black pulls back and we go to this, and then Black extends and says, no, I don't give you anything. And then Black says, okay, let's play normal Joseki. Nope. White immediately cuts. White can cut here, not because White can fight locally, but because Black has to be super careful not to allow any bigger Ko threats. So for example, if Black now plays, let's say just the extension here, and White plays the Hane Connect here, even if Black just plays, if Black, I don't know, plays something here now you can fight the Ko. And if Black now captures, you can Hane here, for example, and Black has to do something here. You capture, and now Black only has local Ko threats. So if Black has local Ko threats, and you start winning this Ko, it's a big problem for Black, because Black kind of needs to answer in the bottom right. Because if Black doesn't, then this is a pretty big disaster. But if Black does answer, then that's just more Ko threats that White gets. And eventually Black is just running out of Ko threats and has to continue here, or maybe to continue here. And now there's no Ko threats for Black. And let's say, I don't know, let's say Black takes out here and White takes out here. Then White is not captured here yet, and Black is completely destroyed here. I don't know if that's the best variation to show, but maybe I had one. Yeah. So I had maybe one prepared for this. Up. No, maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay, but in any case, so you create Ko threats now to make Black, in other words, to make Black fight this. Black might either have to stay very solid now, so this could be a variation, just like this, and just not give White any Ko threats like this. But then maybe later, oh, and thank you for the follow. I still need to fix that. Um, but nothing like AA trades. Um, but it is actually so annoying, this RG, that at this point here, AI doesn't mind to just finish this situation in the top right. This is like a half-point mistake. But if you got to this position and you think, I don't know, okay, I don't want to fall into this code trap, it's totally fine for black to just say, okay, you get something in the corner here, and that's fine. And we just claim you had a 3-4 point here, and I attached, and that's a normal variation here. So that's one way you can, again, you defined the shape in this here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you basically you play a co-thread or a ladder breaker, one of those two, and the opponent says, yeah, I maybe the ladder doesn't work yet, but if I push back too hard, I might just fall apart. So now let's now say black Tenukis. What's white's move? Elephant eye, okay. Attached to this enclosure as well, okay. Connect, huh, okay. Any other options? R15, uh-huh. R17, Tenuki, I mean, yeah, okay. So the best move, of course, is to connect. Huh? So I lied to you all, right? I said connecting is basically never good. But so why is connect the correct move here? And Tenuki is actually really bad for black. Tenuki was a mistake. Black had to play Q17. Yes, Eric got it. So what's the difference? Why is connecting now good? Coin opening seems bad. Yeah, but I mean, at this point here, why Tenuki? So why not connect? Why not connect here? But why is connecting there really bad, and why is connecting here the only best move? Black has bad shape. Black is weak now. Yeah. So the reason black can't save P18 and N18 with correct shape, cause black is weaker. Yeah, so the reason for ever connecting an early game core like this is if it exposes enough important weaknesses. So if we now go back to the situation where it was black connecting here, is any of these white stones important? Like if black captures any of these white stones, does that do anything for black's strength? Does that do anything for black to get more influence or significantly more territory? Right, so these three stones. Well, you have to sacrifice your kids and start anew, I guess. Yeah, but so these three stones, they are the light exchanges that just black is already stronger in the corner, and white stone on the outside, they are there for ladder breakers, for fights, for anything. If they were important, then your next move would be to play something heavy here, but they are not. You shouldn't save them. On the other hand, though, in this variation here, in this variation here, where now black tenokis at this point. The problem is that black now has a big problem in the corner. Black cannot play here now, because then this stone just gets captured. That's a big disaster, of course. No, white should connect. White cannot tenuki here. So what else can black do? Black could save on this side, but then white Atari is here, and then once again, black's corner is completely destroyed. So before black had the whole corner, and white had lightstone on the outside. Now black has no corner, and the group here is not alive yet either. So, for example, if black plays Tenuki again, then white might be able to play, I don't know, some move here and attack these stones even. In the meantime, white can capture here anytime, can take the corner. So white is actually pretty strong, and black is split into two weak groups. If, on the other hand, black extends here, now black has a different problem, because after the Atari here and the extend here, black cannot block. If black blocks, black can basically resign the game. So black would have to play, black might need to extend, but then you can push again and black can still not block. You throw in your Atari and black can resign again. So instead, what black needs to do here at this point is to Atari here, and then after this exchange, you can just play here. And this is horrible for black. Black just got completely split apart, doesn't get anything in the corner. White has pretty strong shape on the outside. R16 is cut off, and the black group on the top side isn't even alive yet. Probably black should even play this one instead, and then here, so that black can at least play here. But now white could even extend, or white could just turn here, or white could just tenuki. Like, black's shape is already destroyed. This is horrible for black. So that's why, and this position here, the white connection actually hurts relevant black stones that are attached to big territory or group strength. So that's the exception to the core principle that early game codes, early game codes, you can just stay light like this. Here you connect because you have such a damaging follow-up. So whenever you can, I repeat, whenever you can expose opponents' weaknesses that matter, that's where you connect this kind of codes. Another option could be if there was a situation where black had a lot of, not only three, maybe a situation like, let's say, I don't know, let's say the situation was more like this already. Then probably connecting exposes several cuts here. Because here, if you Atari, white just captures, and black doesn't have a co-threat. So even if black does some, I don't know, something here and follows up, that's likely better for white with a double Ponoki here, and black's corner is still not, like, there's still some Archie here. So in this case, connecting might be the correct play, because now white has several weaknesses, and kind of the second line stone is, well, capturing the second line stone, like, let's say white now answers and you capture here, like this. Now white is kind of heavy, black gets a lot of territory, so now it is more helpful for black to connect here. But in the initial position with just this, the connection is just too passive. So that happens if black plays the Atari or plays the capture. What if black plays this connection? White Ataris, right? You don't connect here, because then again, black just gets the outside and extra something here. This is not the good kind of having outside exchanges, because you can be much more powerful. Remember that in these kind of situations, none of those stones is sacred to white. So if black now just captures this stone, I mean, this stone was already captured, I suppose. But if black now, for example, plays outside and captures this stone in a ladder, you don't mind, you just break out here. That of course is not what black should play, because this is horrible. So, but that's still, the cut here is one option for black. Now after this, white capture, and black play the Atari. This, and again, it comes back to the earlier variations where white now leaves it. But now it's the opposite, right? Earlier it was white had some outside stones and then leaves it. Here it's white could maybe later make life in the corner. White could maybe also play this Atari and force from the outside. We will actually see a game later where this variation happened. There's also still the Ko here, and maybe after this, white can also push against these three stones. So white has the choice of later taking corner or taking outside, while black is the one who has to worry about what could happen here. So it's a defined shape, but white has all the choices later. I, as black, even though this is an equal position, I hate it as black. So connecting, white plays the Atari here. And by the way, if black Ataris here, you don't play here because then you just capture here. But again, I guess this is also a variation. It just reverts to the other variation, I suppose. Or you capture here and then it reverts to this one. No, all of these. Well, actually, N18 is slightly worse. N18 already is not the best. But after this is actually a fine result. This is an equal result. Oops, like this is obviously very amazing. This is an equal result. But I just find it very annoying from the perspective of black. Maybe because I, as white, play this kind of Joseki, but I feel like white has more options and black has more headaches to worry about. But in principle, now this is a finished variation. And again, later white can decide what to do with this. But what if black now captures here? Now what as white? I'll quickly get some water while you get your guesses in. Oops, already back. Q16, Tenuki. Q15. Q15 would be light. R15. Yep, all of these, well, not quite all of these, but P16. Yeah, so Tenuki is the second best. And the best, we got a winner. Oh. Thank you for the raid. Bryce. Maybe I should make allow the audio a little bit lower. Yeah, so Tenuki is second best. Also, welcome to all the viewers. You actually you're coming in at the right time because we're basically at the halfway point, and which means one variation is covered, one big variation string. The second variation string will be covered next. We're at the end of the first one, basically. But yeah, locally, P16 is actually the best move. And it might look heavy, but if now black doesn't respond locally, if black now Tenuki, then you get to Tiger Mouth and you get to take the corner and hurt R16. So What that means is that p16 is still sente. It was meant to be so. Indeed, indeed, indeed. So Tenuki is actually a mistake for black now. In other words, p16 is a good, well, a kind of outside for inside exchange because black has to react. So p16, black cuts because if black doesn't cut, well, there's a second option which is almost equally as good, but we'll get to that in a second. So now what is white? How do you make use of how to make best use of Q18? Oh, hey, Ricky Lord. Yes, it's AI Trick Joseki, but I couldn't resist to put a lot of fundamental lessons about sabaki. You know the second option? Okay. R15, yeah. Now R15 or Tenuki. Tenuki, I would say in this position, actually possible, but not so good. Here you should continue. If you're Tenuki, I think you should Tenuki now. But after you're already committed to these stones on the outside, I think you need to play the next move. And yeah, R15 is the correct move though. Now, for the big test though, what's Black's next move? How does Black handle this? How does Black handle this annoying R15 Tetsuchi? There's one best and one acceptable move. Everything else is significantly worse. Suggesting bad shape in my stream. R18. Q15. Q15. To make it not empty. I see. Interesting, yeah. That's a good thought. Yeah. Some in chat just too strong. The correct move is the empty triangle here. And it might look stupid, but it's the only move that doesn't give white as many additional forcing moves, while also still keeping liberties. So let's go. So for example, R18 has the problem that, well, now white just doesn't play this now, but now white just has this Atari and doesn't have the weakness on the outside anymore as much. This one basically does the same, but doesn't keep the weakness. If you play here first, then after the Atari, the problem is that white can now descend here. The descent now threatening to capture these stones. And if black now were to capture here, then white, of course, can have very strong shape on the outside with the ladder. Which is why the best black move now here would be to play here. And then we enter a really, really long and complicated, well, it's not that long and complicated, but then we enter a variation where both end up with empty triangles and it's ugly. And I don't want to go over this one now. But so black basically has to play a couple of unprincipled moves in a row, or after not finding the first unprincipled move, I suppose. Because if you now just respond, this is just way too good for white on the outside. So black basically has to force white into bad shape with this one too. So it's really ugly. This fight looks good for white. No, this one is better for white actually, because now there's also still we must remember that later White also still gets a lot of endgame here in the corner after this. So you kind of need to you kind of need to look at this corner like this, uh, more like this. Um, so it's not that black got that much territory in the corner from this. Yes, exactly. That's a good way to put it. I know that wasn't incorrect. That was incorrect endgame. I'm just, yeah. I know. But I just wanted to show that there is RG. We're not going into the details because if I go into every detail, we are sitting here in 24 hours still. Uh, um, so, so yeah, the other option that black has is to play here. Then white connects, or then white just extends. Of course, black cannot play here because that's a disaster. I'll go back to the beginning in a second, yes. And if black connects here, then white can still cover or jump here, and then just white gets more outside like this. That's what I meant then. If black doesn't play the empty triangle, white just gets more forcing move. Um, and I think this is it. Yeah, so actually, so black plays the empty triangle, and then white can play this, and then just Tenuki or play this one. White could also decide to play here, and then if black counters, then there's still this question. Because if black now plays this, then white actually gets more outside moves like this. So it's better for black actually to allow this, and then later white can still decide how to handle this. Right. So that's why you connect here. You treat Q18 light, but you still, even after black finds the correct move, white still gets some outside RG like this or this, and gets in general the outside, and has some inside RG, I meant. Um, the other option for black is to play this move here. And now white should not connect because that's empty triangle, bad shape, and black just makes a base, and white has stupid shape in between two basically alive black groups. So now white again. So because at this point you were already willing to sacrifice the Q18 stone, you should be willing again and counterattack. And black should also not cut here now. Black should keep counterattacking, and this again leads to variations that go far beyond the lesson for today. Right, so it's very important to understand that at this point, these three stones are light. You could Tenuki, but the best way in this case is actually to treat these not yet super light because you can get this incentive. You can get this incentive because this is so bad for black. So black essentially has to play here and then essentially has to play here. And white still got, in general, all of these moves on the outside incentive. And then can still treat all of them light. Speaking of light, so the beginning of the lesson is white has this move to deal with the Ogema enclosure. So if you don't like, for example, the variations after Q16, but you still want to play an attachment that is annoying to the opponent, that they maybe have less experience with, this is the move. And I know what I'm talking about because I beat the strongest European player by rating with this move. Not because of this move, of course, but it was part of it. I gained 4 points from this variation, basically, over the course of the game because the opponent kept defending, over defending this area. More on that in the video about that win, but it's in the works. So yeah, we're so so this attachment is an annoying move to deal with. And we covered what happens if black harness on the inside. So my opponent actually, we already saw this variation, but I will actually show part of the game at the end of the lesson as for the example section, basically. So you can also see some of these variations in action. But he did play the passive just extend back here. and then kept playing a bit too passive around this area a couple more times later. And that's where I gained the 4 points basically, because like this basically turned out as the gift that kept on giving. And since it was a very close game, 4 points definitely mattered. I mean, it's totally fair to play this because if you don't know these variations and you only have 1 hour main time and you don't want to fall into any tricks, but then the trick play already paid off because you got something out of it. It might not be much, but I didn't use any brain power. I made my opponent worry and still worry later in the game. So that's why I like playing like stuff like the Dragon Enclosure, because it's like always, even if the opponent is prepared, I'm always more prepared. Anyway, so black, of course, besides this inside Hane, had a couple more options, but the Hanes are, let's say, the more complicated ones, and also, let's say, the ones that give more in terms of lesson material. So the other option now that is very strong is the other Hane on the outside. So yeah, same procedure as every time. What's White's move? Of course, the ones who were here from the start of the lecture now have a little bit of an advantage. But let's see what you come up with for White here. We have P17, okay. P17, okay. Anyone dares to oppose those suggestions? N17? Hey, Mickey. Hey, Mickey, N17. So we have N17, P17 so far. R17 is an interesting thought. O16. The main theme was Tenuki, not quite. So the best move by far is the crosscut indeed. The topic for the first Hane was that you crosscut next. So let's first exclude what you should not do for sure, because that was the theme of the lecture earlier. You should not extend here. Because the problem is that black just connects here, and now if white tries to live locally, this is very sad, because now this is still not alive, and black got to surround completely like this. And the alternative for white is not much better, because black is now very solid on the outside besides this weakness. So you might think, okay, we can play this attachment or maybe this attachment. But the problem with these kind of variations, now white crosscuts, the problem with these kind of variations is that after all is said and done, now white still has a problem with this shape as well. And if white well, no, this one was not correct. You play here now, and after white Ataris, you capture. So white now is kind of, after connecting here, is kind of in the middle of two relatively strong shapes. And yeah, it has kind of heavy stones, and it's not so great for white like this. But especially just living small in the corner is not so great. Maybe here you can also just decide to play here. Maybe here after this one, black can also just decide to push in, and white is just, black is too strong. You didn't make use of the defect in black's shape, so that's why you crosscut. Now, if you play this has a similar problem. Black will just extend. Now black doesn't need to play any Atari. If you play this Atari, then yes, sure, you end up in the same version as we had earlier, like this, right? Or the same version like this. But black will not give you that satisfaction. Black will just play here. And now once again, we kind of have this problem of Do you just, I don't know, try to live small in the corner? That's kind of meh. Did you try to push out, but you can't really fight on the outside like this? If you just play this, then it's kind of sad too, because here you just make sad little life in the corner, maybe. So, also not the counter, honey. Um, R17 was mentioned, but I think in this case, black might just play here and just be solid here, and this is not there's not my or you could answer here with just the extent. That could also be an option here. And then the crosscut here doesn't give just quite as much here. Because now there's Atari here, the counter Atari, and this one. This is a lot less dangerous for black now, this kind of ko. Because black is already stronger in the corner. So yeah, the crosscut has to be played. And of course now black once again has a few options. Um, yeah, I think the options now might be kind of clear, but this Atari can of course just be an option. Now, white always Ataris on the outside, on the fourth line, not the second line, because then you have a follow-up Atari, right? If you play here and black just captures, you don't have a follow-up. If you play here and black captures, you have this follow-up. Does this shape look familiar to anyone? Does black connect? Right, so we had this is basically, this just reverts to the same variation that we had earlier, where black now played the inside Atari, and then played this Atari, and then captured. Exactly. So we arrive at the same variation like this, and your Atari, and then we have this variation again. So that, of course, we know. What if black now plays here? Atari. What does black do? And 60. So Atari, cut here, capture, capture, I'll say. Okay. How strong is black's corner? Okay, someone just called me. That's why the audio back on the laptop. That's the only thing. Black is strong. Okay, so the corner is strong without the capture. If let's say you capture here now, black's corner is just super alive. So capturing the stone here doesn't have any value for the strength of the corner, and it's not very big. So indeed, you Atari here. No, it's not too good for white. In fact, white capturing is a mistake now. White should just connect here. These stones are just endgame at this point, basically. They have a little bit to do with white strength, of course, but for black strength, it doesn't matter at all. And if you do this, then black just extends here, and this is a little bit painful for this, while black is super strong. So that's why white would even connect here. And now black has two choices, Tenuki or just extend and just and the extent is because you make influence towards the right side and you keep this group here a little bit weak. Hmm. Right? So that's again something. It matters all the way. If white was willing to sacrifice 018 all this time, then why should it be important for black to capture it? That's kind of how you want to look at it. White 018 from the start, from the very first move, 018 was always meant as it's just a probe, bro. I don't care about this stone. If I get to save it in a good way, I take it. But generally, I just want to sacrifice it in an efficient manner and trick you into capturing it small. So if you capture here, you got trick, bro. And white now, Tenuki. Because now black is super, super strong in the corner, and none of these three stones really matter all that much in terms of territory or influence either. If you connect here, it doesn't affect the corner, and it doesn't affect much the outside or the left side. So, but this is already good exchange for white, right? If we look at this like we did earlier, black essentially got, if we again ignore the capture, black got 2 second line and a third line stone extra, but white got a second line, a third line, and a fourth line stone. So white is more on the outside than black, and all black got was a little bit more in the corner. So the best version is actually for black to play here to this, and then black can Tanuki or play extension. And then white may play something like this even to grow the area and reduce this area a little bit, or Tanuki to just reduce this area immediately. Though black could then press down this group maybe, or even counterattack, who knows. So yeah. And also, so that's what can happen with this Atari from black, with this response. Now, what about this Atari? White has to save, right? Because otherwise black just gets the Funuki. And black has to capture. Now, white, what are white's options at this point? Ladder, Atari ladder, okay. If the ladder works, that is the second best option. Before do 016. So if you do 016, what do you expect black to do? Okay, Tenuki, I suppose, is often an option, but I don't even know if it's a good option here to Tenuki at that point. So connect usually. Yeah, usually, but that's another principle. So you see 018, right? What does white want with 018? Yeah, so you want to force black to capture. So if you play this and black connects, you still get 018 Archie. So basically after this, you got you got you got to sell it 2 times instead of just once. So instead, black should absolutely play this one. Anything else is a mistake. And if a ladder works, this is also a fine variation for white. But the best is this. This is the best variation. O16 is the best continuation here. But to know why, you have to find the next move for white now. We have one vote for Atari. Q17, Elephant Jump, Elephant Eye, Q17, Tenuki. See, I primed you too much, I guess. After Atari, you dislike Q17, so Q17. That's a very good point, yes. So if you now play P17, black counters, and now it's kind of like you had this light shape, right? We have this, we can go back to the variation here, where after this one, you have this, or you have maybe we have this, and you capture and you play this, and then you play something here, and black captures. You don't really want to connect here now. I guess that's not a good example because black can just capture here. Okay, let's say black plays the Atari. You would want to take the core and not just connect here. This is too heavy. But that's essentially what you did, kind of. So in this variation here, you indeed play this one. This is the shape point. And now what's annoying for black is that now white has a lot of resources with these 3 stones. There's still a slight defect at M18. Of course, that's not a real cut, but it means that white maybe M16 later could be something. There's the Atari at P17, which now still works. There's also the fact that these stones are now mostly separated, and also that R16 has been shoulder hit like this. And the 2 main options for black are now, I don't give you P17. That is the main option. That's the best option, actually. It looks stupid, but it also breaks white shape. But it also breaks black shape. So it's one of those Korean Joseki where at the end both are unhappy with the result. Both end up with bad shape, so it's okay because it's equally bad. White, of course, pushes through. Black, of course, pushes through. White pushes through. Black pushes through. So we can see white has bad shape, but white also doesn't care for these 3 stones too much anymore. Black has bad shape, but also R60 now is light, and black got a lot of outside. And then typically, feel painful, it's even. Yeah, this is even. And then black can, for example, approach here, but there's different options that black can also play locally. But this would be, for example, an equal result where you Tenuki now. After this, white kind of got the corner. There is still some RG that black can still push in, so it's not as big as it might seem because it's undercut. But also this stone at R12, like it's a good exchange, but white is not completely surrounded. And the 3 stones are not off the board yet. They are completely useless as of now, but they could still become some ladder breaker or endgame or something. They are still on the board. They are not captured yet. There's a big difference between stones being captured or stones being still on the board but not really basically captured or useless for the moment. Because, well, even dead stones can still be revived with coast and time trouble. Right, so again, black of course spent a bit more. Black spent 1 more move to get this result, but that's unsorted garbage, yeah. But white also got quite a little bit of territory from black. Remember, it used to be black's corner. The other option is for black to not play P17. That could be, for example, R13. Or it could be this push here, so that white doesn't get to push here. But what all of these have in common, let's stick with this one, is that white now plays P17. And now, for example, after this one, white still has a lot of different options here. So white can Hane here, white can jump, white can capture the Ko once in center like this, and then just leave it because white still has the Atari later. White still has like counter against these two stones later, or just the Hane here, or all of these options. So instead, white can even Tenuki. That's how many options these stones might look heavy, but they are still very flexible. In fact, what do you think? What's the next best move for black in this position? And no, not Tenuki locally speaking, of course. Tenuki, of course, is always possible in these kind of variations. But since white last Tenuki. But what can black do top right now? N14. Mm-hmm. Of course, white does have P16 to worry about in some cases, maybe. P15. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the best is actually to just jump here. N15. Yeah, so N14, N15, M14, N15. N15 is maybe a little bit too close. Then white is then white also has some counter, but just jumping here, just the calm jump here, and just let white struggle with this group while getting influence and building the left a little bit more. The alternative second best move is actually to play this one. Oh, hello, Valoa. So this one is the weird move that you might want to find. But we don't go into it. The point is nobody of you said 018, so that's already good. You don't play 018 because then white just plays here. And after, for example, black now does all of this, it's just too easy on white, or maybe white even just jumps here. It's just too easy on white to make good shape on the outside. While both black groups are still not, well, they're not connected and they are still not settled yet either. So it's okay, but connecting is certainly not good. So you still leave this RG for white, and that's why the P16 cut is even peeping it is probably not ideal, because after white jumps, the cut here, this is not a core that black really wants to fight, in other words. Even if black wins it, black gets the corner, but black has to play a hefty price probably to win this. So yeah, that's why. And white can even Hane and double Hane and just allow something like this. And then after black connects here, you play something like this or something, or black even plays here and then fights the core. I don't think so. Right there, no, because white just Atari. So there's like this, like this. There's a lot of problems for black on the outside with these shapes too. So even something crazy looking like the double Hane is still possible because white has so many options with these stones. And that's also one of these principles, right? If you have a lot of outside stones and the opponent still has a lot of weaknesses, that means that your stones are not easy to capture. So even weak-looking stones might be pretty strong because they have this counterplay against the opponent's stones. And in this case, again, it's the two-space extension here still has some weaknesses. The corner is no man's land at the moment. There's still this core, there's still this weakness at M18 or this defect, and there's still open space for white. So these might look a little bit sad, but they are actually pretty strong, these white stones, and pretty flexible at that too, not just strong. And again, same Same is true for black, just extending here, you would play here, and actually the best move for black is now to extend here. Black could play this one, but it's a slightly bad exchange because either now white gets either now white gets this one with even more gusto against the course. The ko now comes with an Atari on p18 and just living locally instantly. Or if black now decides to play p17 after all, well then this is likely a bad exchange for black because black played like an inside move and now kind of needs to make use of those a little bit more than before. So, but if you don't want this, if you don't like this variation, of course, if you have the ladder, you can just take the ladder. That's completely fine too. Just that this is locally speaking the best move. So now we had this Atari for black, which can revert to some of the variations that we have already seen. We had this Atari for black. So we are missing this Atari for black. This is actually the best response for black. So let's go back. You attach, black plays on the outside Hane, black crosscuts, white crosscuts, and black plays the Atari. White, of course, extends. So this up to this is actually the best local variation. And now black has a couple of choices. Black can play the Atari here, then white plays the Atari here. Now black, in this case, connects, and then white can actually leave it like this. Or white can capture it in a ladder. Those are both options. Alternatively, you can also play this one, and it reverts back to the variation that we have already seen. So obviously it's also fine. So white has, in this case, if black plays this Atari and then plays this, it can revert to some of the variations that we have already seen, or it can revert to this, or it can end up as a variation where white now gets, let's say, something like this, gets a strong shape on the outside, and black keeps the corner. So just an outside for inside trade, basically. Not that white would capture solidly like this necessarily, but just to demonstrate that this is what white gets. Alternatively, black can be a little bit more greedy and play here. White extends and black captures now. The difference being that at this point, you don't have the Atari on the deck. You can't make 018 is now less RG than before. That's what black gets from this exchange. What white gets from this exchange, though, is that white now has an extra stone on the outside. So now you don't even necessarily need a ladder because the net here could already be good for making influence towards the left side or the center, depending. Probably more likely this side, though. Or you could just leave it now as white, just Tenuki, because now if black plays here, these already have some more strength like this. They are already closer to the corner too, so they can't be attacked quite as severely. Yeah, and I think Tenuki is also actually the best, but this is also totally fine. What black should not do is to play one more time. Now black is asking for a little bit too much. Because now white can actually extend here. Not Atari, but extend. So what's the difference? Earlier I said you shouldn't extend here. Because, well, for reasons I mentioned earlier. Otherwise I just give away the answer. So what's the difference now? Why, after these exchanges, after black extends here, why is this extend now all of a sudden the best move? Even though before it was garbage. What changed? Who done it? Or something like this. Chat fell asleep. No ideas? Yeah, so you're looking so you're talking about Tisuchi. Um, you're talking about Tisuchi. So that is an indicator for there's weaknesses in the opponent's shape, basically. That's the big difference. Before, if white extends immediately, black connects. Now black stones here have 6 liberties and no weakness. But if you cut here first and then extend, now all of a sudden, black here has only 4 liberties on these cutting stones. Black has a cut here, has only 2 liberties on this stone. This stone doesn't matter as much, but it's of course helpful for black. So the big difference now is that black has more weaknesses and um, less liberties, which makes um, which makes it much harder for black to deal with all these weaknesses. So just like earlier with the connecting the ko when it was one time right, here it's similar. The one time this extension of the second line is correct is if you have enough important, valuable weaknesses in the opponent's position to exploit. So that's why black now has to connect. And now if we compare this, actually now you extend a couple of times and then you live in the corner. And now the big difference is before, black could make this move or this move and then this move in Sente. Let's for a second assume that white plays it like this. But here, this exchange for p17 is not even that helpful for black because black already had some nice shape on the outside. So it's just an empty triangle, well, half empty triangle. And black is cut into groups. Before it was just black had a solid outside. That's the big difference. So you created the weakness on the outside, and then it's okay to live in the corner, small, and so connect and surround it. If black now plays k17, now there is the kind of driving Tisuchi. Now white can just play this Atari. And the big problem is that white now gets to drive black out like this. And then doesn't even care about these 3 stones, I don't think. And white just got the whole corner like this. In Sente, basically. So that's not a good idea. In fact, it's so much so not a good idea that black shouldn't even save this stone. Black should just squeeze from the outside now and leave it be like this. So if you now do this, this is kind of like a driving Tisuchi. Even after this, black should not capture here because this just allows white another Atari here. Black should actually extend because now these 3 stones are garbage. They are technically cutting stones, but also black is already pretty strong on both sides. So now white would even just play here, for example. Now white got a huge corner, and there's still a little bit of RG left here, I suppose. If you Atari here now and just give white all this, now white got an even larger corner like this. So that's a horrible result for black. Absolutely, and we come to back to bit in a little bit actually. Black has to connect here. Black could, in theory, also play here, but then white also lives in the corner, and there's still a lot of archie here on the outside. So black's best bet is still to play this one. Right, so that's why this is a little bit too much. Black could push once, because now if you play the extension, the ladder is just, well, that's a problem for white, right? Um, but after this one, now pushing again, white has enough liberties on the outside to not be in immediate danger with these stones, and then can ask black first. And ask this first to exactly, that's why black has to connect, and that's why now white can play p18, because now black still has to connect. And then you continue here, though. By the way, if now black comes back, black can capture these two stones, but it's a high price because white can turn, and if black insists on capturing them, of course, none of these exchanges are made right now, then black only gets minimal gain, and white got the turn here in center and gets all the profit here and here. So that's also not a good idea for black. Right, so this I mentioned it at the very start and also in between. 018 is a stone that white plays with the conscious decision to sacrifice it in most of these variations. But if white saves it and is correct about it, so help black, it's probably not a good variation for black. Because it means that saving that one stone that was supposed to be, you were supposed to be the chosen one, that was supposed to be just a sacrifice, all of a sudden becomes important, and that likely means there's some weaknesses that black has to fix. And it's probably not good for black. Which, of course, means you need to know what you're doing, of course, as white. It's not just you extend and black panics. but yeah. Speaking of extending, though, so that was the variation if black plays this one, and like I said, the best variation now is simply this. It's just this for both. So what if now black extends here? What can white do about this? Just as a hint, earlier black ataried here, and this was a slightly not good exchange because it made white have more argy towards the corner. So what if black now extends here? How can you make use of this? What's white's next move? Q16, okay. Panic and Tenuki. Tenuki might actually be a mistake in this case. I think Tenuki is a mistake in this case. Just because the follow-up's Q16, okay. Black is just going to P18, P18, okay. Any other choices? We got Q16, Panic and Tenuki, and Q16. P17. Mm-hmm. P17, P17. I'm going to circle the move. I'm going to go any closer, closer and closer, and closer, and closer, and closer. R17. So the idea is that you still want to treat 018 light. You already got the good exchange because black played two second line moves here, and you got the second and third line move here. And black played towards the side, but left the corner wide open. Left the RG in the corner wide open. And so now with this attachment, you are actually setting up this kind of driving Tisuchi, or at least you're setting up a problem for black. So black actually has two. So black actually has two responses to this, which are good. Black can extend here, and black can extend here. Let's pick this one first. If black extends here, you can Atari here. You can push through here. You can Atari here. And you can connect here. Then you can extend here, threatening to jump to R14. Black protects the shape, and white protects here. So the result of this is white got a sizable corner, is comfortably alive in the corner, and black got the outside, but it still has weaknesses, right? This now you saved 018 in this case, but you saved it not only to live, but also to make use of the, like, if now black Tenuki, then later you might be able to play here and fight. Or you might be able to play here, and if black insists, you can Atari here and fight. So there's some Aji here. The best move for black is now Tenuki, but very close second is that black actually defends the outside shape. And then white got to take the corner in Sente, and there's still some pokes on the outside. So black has quite solid shape now, but black also had to spend two moves to get this, and white got a good corner and can now destroy the outside. So slightly better for white. The alternative is that black extends here. Now white could bump here, but the slightly better option is actually to Hane here. Black extends, you extend, black extends, and white plays R18. Now white is alive in the corner again, a little bit smaller, but there's now still later the follow-up of playing here and getting more territory in the corner, and also reactivating the N17 RG. Or if black spends a move, then of course white just got the corner in center. That's also fine. Maybe white plays this once more. But in general, white got the corner and black got some outside with, in this case, a little bit of a hole at Q18, Q16. But that's a possible variation. The alternative is that white bumps, black takes, and not according, because black is now very strong here. You don't poke the shape, you actually just play this one. And after this, you make kind of the outside shape here towards the right side. And the corner is neither player's yet. Taking the corner is too small at this point. But later it could be big end game or middle game to take the corner. Maybe also expose the weaknesses here again. I don't go into much detail in these variations because we would be sitting here tomorrow then still. What black should absolutely not do is to play this Hane here. This is now where black would fall into a trap, and this is why similar. Well, it's more about the principles, but the moves are fun too. So the principle behind this is that black already has now this 17 stone with only two liberties. And yes, white also only has two liberties on each of these two stones, but remember, white doesn't care about these. But if white ever captures the 017 stone, it's a complete disaster because then black also is like, if black now plays this, and you play this, and black, no, and you play this, and black insists on capture, or black insists too much, and you capture the two stones in some variation. I don't know, let's say now here at this point, black says, oh no, I capture the corner, and you capture this. Then all of a sudden the two stones are, well, not separated in this case, but they are weak. White got the outside, and that's not good. So the Hane here is too much because black already has this to this stone, which is pretty important, this cutting stone here, to worry about with only two liberties. Any stone that is important that only has two liberties is a problem. And the more weaknesses you have, the less likely it is that you can create more weaknesses for yourself. Especially because in this case, black kind of wants to be the attacker. But if you have too many weaknesses, how can you attack with broken bones? It's not possible. So black first has to go to the hospital and fix their own shape, their own bones, and white makes use of that to just take the corner. Yeah, like I said, if to just show this variation here to fulfill, white can now Atari, then Atari here. Again, none of these stones black wants to sacrifice because giving a white a Ponuki in black's corner is just too much. Now white can Atari again and then connect here. Now white threatens to capture the two stones. Black makes this exchange. White makes this counter exchange. Once again, black can't give up the two stones. Wait, oh, that was the variation, right? So black extends. Then white forces here, threatens to capture the three stones. Black defends. Black doesn't defend from this side, by the way, because otherwise white can connect here and threaten to capture the two stones. And then white can once again just separate the outside. So black instead Ataris from this side, which also means that white gets this one and then gets to push here. Black can't ignore because the Atari here and the squeeze is way too painful. So black extends and then white just extends. And this one is, well, this one is 4 points better almost for white. Because black got a little bit more than just the corner, but white also got huge influence. So black got absolutely tricked in this variation. So that's why this attachment here is very powerful because it basically takes the corner. If black now extends here, for example, then we end up with some kind of variation, maybe like this, where black might kind of take back the corner, but white also gets outside. But like I said, this is a little bit too much to go over now. White could also play here now and take the corner away again. There's many options for white in this case too. But there's already too many variations to show. So these are, I think, though, in the SGF. So if I share it under the stream on YouTube later, you can check back some of the variations that we discussed. So if you don't want to watch back like a 2.5 hour VOD, there will probably be the SGF or an OGS link with the SGF somewhere. And this variation should be in there too. Of course, you can also just always check with your own AI. It might be more powerful than mine. Maybe you can even correct me on some of the nuances. But yeah. Now, though, for the big reveal, R17 is the move that is more geared towards taking the corner. Ah, yeah, I see. True. So for everyone who said Q16, you are also correct. This is as good as R17. Both of those are equally good. I think one has the slightly higher point, and the other has the slightly higher win rate, at least with my AI after like 200,000 playouts. So yeah, both of those. Q16 is actually the one that I played first. Yeah, which is good for this stream, I guess. You don't have to choose which one to watch now. And thanks to the hot heads up. Yeah, so Q16 is actually the move that I came up with when I first encountered this without checking with AI, because this is the typical shape point. And the reason for this at Q16 is it's a similar like you also want, like if black, for example, now plays this, you get to Atari and we come back to the same variation, right? So black cannot play the Hane from the inside like this. What Q16 does compared to R17, though, it's more geared towards the outside again. So if you are more a fan of territory, you play R17. If you are more a fan of Q7, of the outside, and also Q16 might be a slightly trickier, slightly more tricky to deal with, then play Q16. Yeah, so earlier it was mentioned we're driving Tisuchi. If black now extends inside here, white gets to Atari, black has to save, but then this is the so-called driving Tisuchi, in case you are not familiar with it. Driving Tisuchi is that you literally drive the opponent's stone towards their own wall and then deflect them. So in this case, you drive them here, and then you drive here, and black has no choice. Black has to play here, and then white gets to push down. So what this did is it drove black towards this, again sacrificed 018, but it also hurt the stones here. So the driving Tisuchi either lets you capture a stone, that's very important, in this case a cutting stone, or more likely that's not acceptable for the opponent, then you get to hurt the stone you're driving the opponent's stone into. So here, black should actually save this and play here, and then allow this Atari. And then white has a follow-up here, and black counters, and then we just have a fight, where black is pretty much alive here, and is also now alive here, but white also got some outside. If black now chooses to, for example, play away, then white can just play here, or play here once, and then play here, and this is very annoying for these two stones. They're likely not dead yet, but they're pretty close. Similarly, black should absolutely not play push out here, because after this, which looks like a good exchange, right? You create two cuts, looks good usually. But the problem for black is this cut doesn't matter. These two stones don't matter, because black is already basically alive with this group. So all this does, it just hurts the corner group more. And I don't know if you extend here, or you maybe even just play this and then play this. Maybe black captures, I don't know. Now the cornerstones are just dead, or it's maybe just a ko or something like this, but white gets very strong. So black got strong where black was already alive, and the two stones here are and don't feel so good. No, they're actually just dead. So yeah, not good. So that's what you shouldn't do. You should also not play this one, because then white actually gets to save this stone, and then Hane here, and once again, white has pretty easy life. For example, after this, white has pretty easy life with these stones, and maybe even push and extend here. And black is not even alive with this group, and also not with this group. So not a good result for black. You don't want this. You don't want the opponent to live in your corner and have two outside weak groups, or at least not settled groups like this. And white is not even enclosed in the corner. White is just out. So again, like I said, black has to accept to be driven like this. And then black even has to accept this Atari. Because again, if black now plays here, that's the same variation as earlier. And if black plays here, you just get to Atari here, and then get to attack these two stones again. So similar, actually, if black extends here, it's not quite a driving Tisuchi, but still we have a similar situation like this, where now I think in this case white actually connects here, and then we have a situation like this where black is not fully alive here yet, and black is not fully alive yet here, and white has driven a wedge against between these two stones. So this is it was a slight success for white. So now again, to break with all of what I said before, right? There's a problem here. Black can absolutely not fight back. The best move for black after the Q16 attachment is the outside Hane. And I'll just quickly show white extends. Black now captures the stone. White cuts here. And this is just one of many possible variations. And then white Tanukis. And I don't want to go too much into detail of this variation, but essentially, and that's why I said earlier that Q16 is more about the outside. white is not living on the inside, but black also doesn't have many liberties on the corner, and there's still the problem with the cut here at Q15, and to an extent even the RG here. So you're Tenuki now, because now it's black's problem again. How does black deal with this? Who knows? It's a little bit similar to a very early variation from like the very first Atari. It's like it seems like white is giving up a lot, right? Yeah. But the problem for black is that later white has there's still a lot of RG in this corner to be had. So there might be some co-variation for the whole corner, say later, or there might be still a lot of Ataris and outside and co-threads, and so it might seem very bad for white, but it's actually slightly better for white. And again, to go into more detail why that is, to be quite honest, I haven't even studied these variations to that extent yet because I prefer R70 now. But just I know it up to here, and then it's random Tenuki and make use of this somehow. That's also, of course, the secret of if you know a variation and you can choose a certain variation, then you don't need to know everything. For example, a while ago, I learned a lot about this Joseki. And as white, I would always play this. I don't know much about this move, but I don't need to because I don't play it. So I didn't feel the need to study it that deeply. Of course, I know like the general gist of how this continues, but it's my choice. I don't need to play this. Even if I am now the one who plays black, if now my opponent plays this, I don't play this and allow my opponent to play this one and get me into something that I don't know. I play this move. But that's for me for another lecture. So, so yeah. So that's what can happen in the top right with this attachment. It's not good for black in general. It's all of these variations lead to variations that or final positions that are 1 to 2 points better for white. And so you shouldn't extend here as black. You should absolutely play this Atari or maybe this Atari. Um, and that's about it. That's what I did in the past, but then a certain coach told me I need a better weapon against low dans back when I was like 3 to 4 dan, because apparently compared to his other students, I had much more trouble with 1 to 2 dans, and then I just chose I chose this pincer as my weapon of choice, and it happened to also work against 5 to 6 dans, so I just played it for a couple of years. And I remember there was one tournament where there was a 2 dan, and she won 4 games and only lost against me. But against me, basically, the game was over after 40 moves because she fell into some variation of this pincer Joseki. So, case in point, I guess. Okay, so yeah, yeah, okay. So I want to quickly go over the other options. So the harness are the more forceful variations. The extensions are a bit more soft. So one option is for black to just extend in, which was what some people suggested like 2 hours ago. And white will push in, black will extend, and white will hane. And either black now plays A and pushes a couple of times from behind, and white just gets territory and black gets the influence. So it's pretty easy life for white like this. Or alternatively, locally speaking, you can play this one, pincer, but then white can counter like this or like this. And the problem is that black is now also split into 2 groups. They are, of course, not that weak. For example, like this. This black group here in the corner is not weak, and these 2 stones can also make a base easily. But same for white. So white has a group between black's groups. So white's group in general is out and won't be in any big danger anytime soon. And of course, Tenuki is also an option here. So, but like you can see, it's a little bit too easy on white. Like Black's Kosumi here is a little bit wasted, maybe. So if, for example, this happens, I would be pretty stoked as white to just, because I don't like this enclosure, I would be very stoked to just get a result simple like this. And a shape that my opponent maybe knows less about. So that's one variation. That's one way that this can go. That's basically what I want to say about P17. The other extension is a little bit more complex. Or actually, no, one thing, I thought I had something more. If black now extends on the outside, now you can Hane here, and then it just reverts to the, well, now it reverts to the, or actually, no, you play here. Now it just reverts to a 3-3 Joseki, right? Just this normal, um, yeah, Hoshi 3-3 Joseki variation. Just that you didn't get it in Sente. Because, well, black had 2 stones and you just played 1 stone. So obviously, if you get the same result with one more less move, then it's not possible. But no. uh, Black, by the way, can also counter like this, but then we get into a similar situation like earlier, where black, for example, after this now, after this ends up, oh, that's a little bit different. After, for example, after this, now white just takes the corner. That's one variation. White again takes the corner, and black has the outside with a weakness. Or alternatively, if now black descends, white can actually play lightly and play away. White could play away and let black cut because there is still Aji with this Tisuchi here. But if you just connect here and then black insists, you can Hane here and then you can still play this Tisuchi. And after a few follow-up moves like this, you can see that white doesn't really have a big problem with this group, and black has the corner, but still there's some RG here, right? Black is not solidly connected either, so we can't really say that black got the outside easily. So yeah, again, relatively easy on white, and black is still the one with some shape weaknesses. Fun little Tisuchi at N17 though. So that's one way that this can go if black extends inside. If black extends towards the outside, white Hane, black Hane, black extends. If black now just fixes this weakness, you extend here once, and then you extend here, and we arrive at the 3-3 Hoshi Joseki again, which I don't mind at all. So nice, you got to revert the this annoying enclosure into a simple 3-3 Joseki, slightly outdated, but or not outdated, but it's slightly. The other one was slightly outdated, but this one is fine. But generally, maybe black doesn't necessarily want to extend immediately, so you've got to define the shape once again. So before this, you had this annoying flexible enclosure, which I don't know what to do about this. And in the end of this variation, you simply get the 3-3 Joseki where you take the corner and black takes the outside. Now black can try to resist a little bit with this move now. It's a little bit more fighty. But in the end, after we play some forcing moves like this and all of this, and this is the main variation, which best for both. Yes, black gets a lot of outside, but once again, black gets a lot of outside with 2 more moves, because now white can Tenuki. White can just play away after this. And black still has weaknesses here on the outside. So, for example, after black plays here and plays the Atari, this looks maybe like a problem, but the problem is on black side. Now the corner dies. So black cannot play this. Black would have to maybe extend here, and then white can still crawl a little bit, and then we have this typical second line for outside, but also black now spent 3 moves to get this result and still has a little bit of the weakness outside and here and here. So it's still slightly better for white, but totally fine for black too. So even if black now plays this a bit more forceful variation, a bit more fighting looking variation at R17, Still, if black extends outside, white just takes the corner or top side. Like white just lives easily locally. And again, like this, maybe not quite as easily. Black can still fight a bit, but in general, white doesn't have a difficult time to handle these. Now, white can actually save 018 in a good manner in both of these cases. So, so yeah, that's and Tanuki is not really an option for black unless maybe there is something big going on and this is not the first move of the board. But generally speaking, now if black Tanuki, then like for example here, then white can Hane here and seems a little bit like the stones are not super coordinated. It's fine. It's not horrible to Tanuki, but it's slightly better for white. Like a point or so, I think. Not sure. So yeah. Um, I still have game examples, but before that, any questions, any variations that where you had a question or any move that maybe interested you and wasn't covered, let me know while I open the next document here. Oh, I'm here. Okay. No question there. N16. I think white will just Hane here and just take the corner anyway. So I don't think that this is it's probably not bad though. Um, but I would say after this, possibly even here, white again just takes the corner and it's not like black gained much from this. It just seems like black played a little bit of a weird shape here. Yeah, but maybe some questions about the principles. So maybe uh, maybe going through the principles. So because I don't think I even said it in the title. So the first principle in general is if the opponent attaches, the strongest move against it is usually to Hane. So if you can play Hane, you want to play Hane. You want to play extend if you want to stay very strong. You already have some weaknesses somewhere. You don't want to give the opponent any extra forcing move or not fall for any tricks, like some people said earlier. They just play P17 and be done with it. But generally speaking, just from a perspective of playing like the most forceful move locally, taking away a liberty and fighting um, and pressing the opponent as much as possible, the Hane is usually the preferred option against an attachment. Of course, Tenuki is also the last option that I didn't mention in this case, but in this case, Tenuki was asked, so thank you for that. Then also as a follow-up to that, that after a Hane on the second line, like this, like we had earlier here, we do not extend the stone. We crosscut. Same here, we crosscut. The extension is too heavy and makes it too easy for the opponent to, for example, in this case, to just make solid shape. Or in this case also just makes it too easy for the opponent to make solid shape. And second line stones, as opposed to third line stones, they don't have enough benefit to just strengthen the opponent like this. Usually, especially this early in the game. In end game, possible, but not this early in the game. Like for end game, this is acceptable, possibly, but especially this early in the game. And if you want to make sabaki, kikashi, whatever you want to call it, kiai, you crosscut. So that's like the principal A point 1 point A. Um, then I suppose that a general principle in all of these was, in general, outside for inside exchanges, especially early on the game, are preferred. So again, if you connect here, you can just evaluate it simply by who got more outside, who got more inside. Black got three times second line stones. White got light third and fourth line stones. So you don't connect because this is too easy on white. And white got the outside for the inside, especially third and fourth line for second line. So that's some metric where you can evaluate quickly if some exchanges were good or bad for, or some variations were good or bad for you. As always, there's exceptions, but generally speaking, of course, that's why core principles like this, there's no 100%. There's no, you always have to do this. Even giving the opponent a pin for Nuki, sometimes it's the correct move. It often is not. You shouldn't give the opponent a Ponuki for nothing, but sometimes it's absolutely the correct choice. So this outside for inside and or high for low exchanges early, especially, these are good for the one who gets the outside or high exchanges. In the same vein, don't connect a ko like this. So that's also principle number 3. If it's not related to any weaknesses of the opponent that matter. Only connect, like we saw earlier, if now this black decided to Tenuki. No, if now black decided to Tenuki now you connect because, oh, there was a weakness. There's several weaknesses that matter because they are very much related to the territory and the weaknesses of these groups. While here, this connection very much is not about stones that matter. So early game cos are you shouldn't connect. You should also not fight them if you don't have cos. So you typically counter Atari or Tenuki, but don't counter Atari or Tenuki if you can never win the ko or there isn't enough important cuts on the outside. If black, what do you mean? You mean the point of the like the focus of the lecture? Or is it, I don't know. If black plays big knight move, so O18 is the move that we just, yes. This is what this title of the lecture is about. This is the AI move. Not in this position particularly, but I've seen it in AI versus AI at move 8. And I called it a trick move in the title because it's tricky, but it's not really a trick move per se in the right situations. In this particular position, it loses half a point. So it's totally acceptable. Do I have it here somewhere? In for example this position, it loses like 0.2 or something like this. In crosscuts, in cross Fuseki, it's even more powerful. So yeah, no. So you usually use that man if you don't like any of the other options. I personally, for example, I really don't like the complicated variations that happen after Q16. So I tried O18 and had some fun with it. And that's the other version you can use it where if you feel like experimenting, if you feel like playing something a little bit unusual, that's when you use this one. There's no real you play this if, because it's not really reliant on much on too many ladders. So just play it if you like it. That's when you use it. It's not it's more a weapon of, I don't want the opponent to know exactly what's going on. I want to have the upper hand in knowledge and preparation, and don't fall into the other variations that the opponent might know better. Okay, so as I mentioned. So here, the principle, don't connect these early codes if there's no weaknesses to exploit. Mm, I mentioned what happens if black, but we can't go repeat the whole lecture. You can go back in the VOD. I mentioned all the options that black has. Both, like we covered in the last 2 hours, we covered these four black moves. I'm happy to respond to any questions, but I'm not going to repeat everything I said before now. Okay. Um, so we had this shape here, right? Then the fourth principle in general, the fourth in principle in general is that these attachments are used to define the shape. So maybe also as a question to earlier, when do you use it if you don't like the other moves and you just want to force the opponent to choose? It's just like a probe. It's just like it's very similar to like this kind of move in the corner. You just want to know how do you react to this? I want to know. And then later I can make use of this and maybe you don't know how I can make use of it. It's a trap. So attachment usually define shape or make the opponent somewhere stronger, but you also get something in return. And and the last principle, which is again related. I think most of the principles actually come from this particular example here. That typically stones attached to strong shape, which would be the case here, are light. So also actually maybe to mention this one again earlier, we have this one, right? Like this. You don't capture this stone because black is already strong, because if you capture these three white stones are light. So you first do this and then you play here. And then this stone is light again, because black is already super strong in the corner. Same with 018. Capturing is not helpful, like capturing here is not that big because black is already super strong. So general's principle, very, very important. And I see it all the time in students' games. Stones attached to strong shape, unless they are a lot of stones and you can capture in them in a big way, but especially this early on the game, they are not worth capturing. So in return, that also means they are not worth saving. So once again, stones attached to strong shape are light. Tenuki. We had Tenuki as an overarching theme a lot. Okay. Then just as so that's the lecture about this attachment Joseki. I have a few game examples now though to show the move in action basically. Most of those are by me because that's where I found the attachment most, and one is not by me. Um, Before that though, if you liked the lecture so far, and you want to be notified about future streams of mine, do consider joining my Discord. If you also want the viewer role, you will be notified whenever I go live and what games I play or what lectures I give. Speaking of that, I also have a YouTube. I have not uploaded much this year, but I will get back to it with some well, actually, also with something that we discussed for today, but in more depth about a game that includes this kind of attachment. And I also plan to do some endgame lectures and some more next year. So yeah, if that sounds like something you like to listen to and you like this lecture, also consider to follow me there. And other than that, I unfortunately didn't get to finish my website yet, so you have to go go to these links for now. I am also a Go teacher. I coach like most at the moment, I guess, also a lot of high like strong SDQs, but any level from beginner to well up to which level you feel like a growing 5 dan and soon to be 6 dan EGF is going to help you. Um, I'm, as you could see maybe in this lecture, I'm usually very methodical in my approach. So just like I am with my own improvement. So if you feel like you don't know what's going wrong in your games, hit me up and we will find out together what to do about it. Also, if you don't save the links for the teaching, but you are on my Discord, you can always reach me there. Okay, now let's, I guess, save this because we added a few. You die and have sickies. Okay. And don't worry, even though I am the Tsumego guy, my advice will never just be do more Tsumego, even though sometimes it's tempting. All right. So let's start with this game here. This is a game I played earlier this year. Um, and I mean, you will probably know who I am in a bit. Oh yeah, the opponent also. Oh, I remember the first time I won against the 3 Dan. Was it even this guy? It might have even been. No, 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 it was somewhere else. No, 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 never mind. Okay. Um, um, where I should have totally lost. I had two groups. One of them should have died, but he made a mistake, a basic Tsumego mistake, and forgot an exchange. So I got to live in the corner with Seki. And then somehow I also managed to live in the center with Seki and won by 9.5 points. And that's how I first beat a 3 Dan. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, this opponent mirrored. And then, yeah, with the attachment here. So in this game, I got this attachment. And oops, oh no. Oop, what was that? Okay, that was just on my end, I think. And the opponent had it inside. I cut, and he just pulled back. So simple, but I got some. I already got what I wanted. I got to define the shape into a shape that I know better than the opponent, that has some outside RG. And now I don't need to deal with the common corner enclosure Joseki against this, where I'm sure that's the other thing, right? When the opponent plays this enclosure, it's likely they have played it more than you, if you're not someone who plays it. Um, and if you play it, then now you're prepared for more shenanigans, I suppose. But if you don't play it, then the opponent, of course, has more experience with it, but they might not have as much experience with this move. So yeah, so I just got this. I just got this. And later in the game, I will scroll a little bit forward. At this point here, never mind, this was a horrible game by me. He totally should now have broken out here. And white is actually significantly ahead because now these stones are kind of dead. Here I'm dead, and I got a very weak group here, or a very heavy group here, which not didn't give me much benefit. But white actually spent a move here. White was scared. So, and that was a mistake. That was actually quite a big mistake. That was like -5 points. So the game got closer again. So this can already be a benefit that the opponent is scared about this RG, scared of this RG, and just spends a passive move here. So a little bit later in the game, now actually, yeah, my opponent actually didn't need to do much. My opponent was just ahead. But my opponent was greedy and tried too hard, tried way too hard to destroy my area here. And now you can see, after Ayahane here, and extend, that this stone at b6 later, now it's b6, not o18, that these two stones are actually really annoying for these stones here. And later there is at least the options for me to, for example, play this one in Sente now, right? Threatening to just connect by capturing these. And then also play this one in Sente. So after all of this, I got so much profit here from this. Even though white spent an extra passive move here, it still is not enough. It wasn't enough. Uh, if you get this reference, let me know. But yeah, so the problem for white is simply that even this extension in this game didn't help immediately with this shape. And that's not how the game continued. Let's not mention that. But in general, oh, that's still not the game. In general, after all of this is said and done here, there is still always this RG here where white has to worry about it. So now let's go to another game. And nothing happened here anymore with this, I think. Let me quickly check. In the game, they just they didn't die here, but they ended up dying here, so it didn't matter in the end. But I still in the yeah, no, I got to play here. The best move was here to kill something here, but never mind that, or to force him to connect. But I get to play here, and white didn't want to play because now if white plays here, actually this one is really against center. So white played here, and later I can still get the 3 stones as benefit. So I got so much benefit from these 2 stones in the end. I actually don't know if the game ended here. Yeah, because now white resigned. But later I could have even here maybe still got something out of this stone. Right. Okay. So open the next one. Let's not save that. Now for this one. Yeah. Now I skipped it. I play the attachment. What else? And white played here. I played the crosscut. And it's another example of this. So it's the exact same. In the end, I actually I got a lot of this because later I attached here and got this. Now white doesn't even get corner all that much. And much later here, right? White spent a move here. And that again was a mistake. And much later, white turned here and captured the stone when there was bigger things to do, like on the top. So with all of this, with these exchanges, and white being being passive, no, very different opponent. I got 4 points out of this. And if you were here earlier, you might now be able to queue in, or maybe you have seen this game already, because this game has been covered by 3 different pros. But it will also be covered by me in my next YouTube video. So I will quickly let it disappear to not spoil everything. But so those were 2 examples of yeah, there was just a passive option for the opponent, and I defined the shape. Then this is also another game of mine, and I attached. This opponent, however, had researched, I think, because at this point I had already played this a bit. This was from August. I started playing this early this year, late last year. Not every game, by the way. I'm not like a one-trick pony, but sometimes I just like to sprinkle in some tricky stuff or just feel like it. So this opponent knew to Atari here and to go here. At that point, I actually hadn't researched it that deep, so I didn't know what to do here. So, well, I Tenuki'd. And much later in the game. Oh, no, actually, in this case, once again, I got my opponent to defend here. But in this case, it was actually a good move. The other times, it was a mistake. Here, at least, it was like a third line stone and really capturing everything and not allowing the Atari and all of these archies. So here this is actually a good follow-up for Blake. You don't play this one because now there's more still this Atari Agi left, and still some Atari Agi left. So you don't do this. But there's no good variation for white now to continue, so you just Tenuki. And then black defended, and much later in the game. I'm scrolling. Sometime along. Okay, let's just go here. Now at this point here, white actually has still again this attachment move, and black has to be a bit careful because if black is not careful now, all of a sudden you might be able to play this, and if black plays this and says, "Haha, I get the Ponuki," you say, "Haha, but I save my stones," and your Ponuki is not alive yet either. You have to connect here and you have to play here, and now all of a sudden white broke everything. So that means that black probably after this one might just need to connect here, and then white got some extra benefit from this 018 stone. So it's a stone that keeps on giving. Now, those are the three more tame examples. Oops. I clicked cancel. Because in all of these, it was more like, okay, the opponent played to passive, a little bit passive move, but nothing was lost there. But still, in the end, it helped me. So now, fun fact: this game I played on PandaNet. I'm white, and played this attachment here. And literally the day before I played this game, I had researched all of these variations. So before I played it, but I hadn't researched variations so much yet. Before this game, I had researched quite extensively some of these variations. And guess what happened? He played the Ihane from the outside. I cross-cut. Can you guess the next black move? It's not really about knowing, it's just what could be the most interesting. Yes, you are very smart. M18 was the next move. And so I played R17, and he extended here, and I Harned, and then played here. And black even defended here once again, and I pushed one more time. And this was just quite a bit better for me because black now, I lived in the corner quite big, and now J17 is kind of, Q17 is kind of, R13 is, or R9 are kind of, and I went on to win this game pretty simply from here. And not that I'm far ahead. I think actually this was a Komi, actually it was reverse Komi game, so I was not ahead at this point. But it's already not a bad deal for me to get this. So yeah, and then the game just continued here, and you actually will see this. You will see this game again in my next lecture because it also has another point. It has something about the center value, as you might imagine with this black outside. um, yeah, no, this is not even. Especially since black has these two outside stones that are too close to thickness. And especially because black spent another move here, which is too slow. Black should Tenuki here, or maybe turn here if you want to play locally. Or play P18 locally to at least capture the stone this way, but Q17 is also too slow, so. Actually, curious for a second. I can quickly check. I can quickly check if you're curious. If while it's loading. I have to press search. So the result, black starts with 11.4. Yeah, the result is 4 points worse for black at this point. So compared to the start of the game, black lost 4 points, and basically all of this was in this area. Because this was all Joseki, nothing was weird here. Which, I mean, 4 points is not nothing, especially for a variation that you literally just studied the day before and you know exactly what to do. So I was very amused when my opponent exactly played this, what I had just looked at. All right. And last but not least, the game that started it all and that also will be on my YouTube channel very soon is the origin story. So if you are looking forward to, you might be spoiled to a video, but White played this exchange, so it became this cross, right? It became the cross Fuseki, and that was the AI move. AI versus AI, and White played 018. And I saw that, and well, you will see my reaction because it's a blind reaction video. You will see my reaction to this move. I was in disbelief. I just thought, did I click this? Is the SGF corrupted? No. This was probably the temperature was not not at 100% here, so that because it's not the sole best move, right? It's not there's no other moves that you could play here, but it's one of the best moves. So there you go. Katago versus Katago game. And in this game, and that's of course why I picked it last, Black knew what to do. Surprise. Um, and we end up with this variation here, where we have this coincide. Isn't that fun? And yes, it mattered. Of course it mattered. So we skip. We are at move 17. We skip all the way to move 102. Nothing happened in this corner until then, except for they took forth and back the ko a couple of times, now and then, at timings that no human will ever understand. But at this point here, White extended here, or earlier White played the Atari here once. I didn't put this, but White played the Atari once, and then White extends here. What I mentioned earlier, now these three stones are getting attacked. Black played away, and White got the Hane here in center. Then we take and take back, and then something happens here. And a little bit later, now finally, after some exchanges on this side, White took the ko, Black played some ko thread in the middle, and White now connects. So in the end, in this game, White actually not only revived the stones, but revived it by capturing the three stones here. And also still creating some RG in this general area here, because now these four stones only have 4 liberties, and there's a little bit of a weakness here in between this Ogema 2-space jump shape. So yeah. But like I said earlier, from the get-go, from very early on, we have this shape which defined this area, and it was a headache for uh, it was a headache for Black for the rest of the game, basically. I won't go spoil who won this, but I will also mention that the Komi is 7. So yeah, so There's probably more examples, but I couldn't find many more games. So Katago one, yeah. Um, so I haven't played it in that many games that I can just look at like 20 games and see it every other game because, well, the opponent has to play the enclosure in the first place. But I think you now have a pretty good, yeah, you now have a pretty good overview of what to do with this move. And more importantly, hopefully, I could get across some of these principles of staying light of sabaki, if you wish, of how to fight ko's or not in these early games, or how which ko's to connect and which ko's not to connect. And let's see. Yep, I think that's it. If you have any more questions, let me know either now or join my Discord and ask me there. And let's see if there's someone to raid now. I can just open this window, I suppose. And of course, I hope you enjoyed. I guess we all Betsko and Klossius are streaming too much. They're always the two options at this point of at this time. So that's I think we last time we did. I think I did Colossus a couple of times. Let's go to bets again. Yes, it is already on YouTube because I also streamed it on YouTube. Well, I love teaching Go, so I hope that can be uh, my obsession can be infectious. And yeah, like I said, I restreamed it on YouTube too, so it is already on YouTube. Oh, and also thank you for the follow. I'm on the wrong window now, but much appreciated. And so yeah, I had fun too, for sure. And I'll see you in a Fox game sometime in the next few days, or at the very latest, if I somehow don't manage, the 2nd of January for I would say the lecture I'm most hyped for myself, which is how to evaluate center value, basically. So yeah, see you then, and have a good evening, night, day, wherever you are. Bye bye.